This is Math 2, 11.2 notes, Part 2. That's Math 2, Unit 11, Lesson 2, Notes, Part 2. So what we're doing today is finishing off the notes that we started. So we did the front page 1 through 3. We talked about how to solve by completing the square. And then on number 4, we started, told you guys I'd finish in class, but I'm finishing here online. Okay, so you're asked to graph this, and I didn't write that there, but you are asked to graph and to find those pieces of information here. What does it look like in vertex form? What is the vertex? Find the x-intercepts, and what are your y-intercepts? Y-intercept. And we did the y-intercept first because it was the easiest thing to find, because you just plug in 0. 0, 0 plus 9. We did it here, 0, 0 plus 9. You get 9, 0, comma 9. Okay, so since they're asking for the vertex form, that's what we're going to do first. So we're going to move the 9 over. We're going to subtract it over, just like we've done in the past. Y minus 9 equals x squared plus 8x, and then we put our blank on each side because what I add to one side, I must add to the other. Take the 8, cut in half. That's 4. Square it, and that's 16. Okay, so what was that? We took the 8, cut in half, squared it, and got 16. And since there's no number out here to multiply by, I add it to the other side. What I add to one side, I must add to the other. And then I am going to simplify. I get y plus 7 equals double bubble. I know it's going to be plus plus because the two signs have to be the same, and the neighbor tells me they're both positive. And what times what is 16? It has to be the two same numbers, so 4 and 4. That does indeed add up to 8. So that's x plus 4 quantity squared minus the 7 back over to the other side. X plus 4 quantity squared minus 7. This right here is your vertex form. Y equals the quantity of x plus 4 squared minus 7. What is the vertex? Opposite of the inside. Outside stays the same. So negative 4, negative 7. Now, for our x-intercepts, I'm going to save this section over here for my graph. I'll put my graph in that section there and put the rest of my work here. Okay, for the x-intercepts, how do I find x-intercepts? I make y equal to 0 and solve. So up here, when I put 0 equals x squared plus 8x plus 9, the nicest thing to do, to be able to do, is factor. Factor and solve. Unfortunately, it doesn't factor. And it doesn't factor because when you do your double bubble, kids will do this. Oh, I'm going to use x plus 9 and x minus 1 because when I do 9x and negative 1x, I get the positive 8. That is true, but 9 times negative 1 is not positive 9. They would both have to be positive, and if they are both positive, it then does not work to give you the positive 8 in the middle. So, and if they were both negative, it still wouldn't give you a positive 8 in the middle. Therefore, it doesn't factor. So, instead of using the standard form, I'm going to use this one right here to solve instead. 0 equals x plus 4 quantity squared minus 7. Technically, what you could have done here is subtract the 9, complete the square. You would end up with this eventually anyway. Okay, you will need a calculator for this section, so if you don't have one, put pause button, run and grab one. Okay, how do we solve? We've solved these since our previous unit. You get this number and add it to the other side. And 0 plus 7 is 7, equals the quantity of x plus 4 squared. We square root both sides because inverse operations undo each other. Don't forget your plus or minus. And we have, I'm going to flip it around. I'm going to put x plus 4 on this side equals plus or minus root 7 on the other side, just because that's how my brain processes the problem. subtract 4, x equals negative 4 plus or minus root 7. They are not like terms. So typically we'd stop here. This is it. But since they're asking us to graph, and you will have some like this on your worksheet, since they're asking us to graph, I need to change this to a decimal. Change to a decimal. All right, so you have your calculators, x equals negative 4 plus or minus, and we're going to go the nearest tenths place. That's one place after the decimal. And if you have a calculator like this, you hit your square root key, which is above your x squared key. So you hit second square root and then the 7. And then the equals 2.6 when you're rounding to the nearest tenths place. Okay, and then we're going to do negative 4 plus 2.6 and negative 4 minus 2.6. Those are going to be my two x-intercepts. Okay, so let's do that. Negative 4 plus 2.6 equals negative 1.4, comma, and then negative 4 minus 2.6 equals negative 6.6. All right, so how did I get those two decimals? I first changed root 7 to 2.6 because I want to be able to graph these numbers, and I can't graph it with the radical. And then I took negative 4 plus that number, negative 4 minus that number, and I got these two numbers. So those are my two x-intercepts. So how do I write that here? I'm going to put negative 1.4 comma 0 and negative 6.6 comma 0. Now, not all of them are messy like this. You will have some on your worksheets that work out nicely. Like when you moved this 7 over, say that 7 would have been a 4 or a 9 or a 16, something that's a perfect squared. And when you square rooted both sides, you would end up with two whole numbers. Occasionally that happens, occasionally this happens, and you end up with decimal answers. All in all, we're still going to graph. Okay, let's see if we can get this going. Okay. Okay, so vertex is negative 4, negative 7, 1, 2, 3, negative 4, down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So right about there. And I'm going to go ahead and draw my axis of symmetry. X equals negative 4. Okay, y-intercept is 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And remember what we've talked about with symmetry. How far is that over? 1, 2, 3, 4 dots over. 1, 2, 3, 4 to the right. So I can come here and go 1, 2, 3, 4 over this way. And that's only because of symmetry. It's symmetrical, so if I have a dot on that side, I'm going to have a dot on that side. My x-intercepts are negative 1.4, negative 1.4, negative 6.6, 4, 5, 6. And again, they should look pretty equidistant to the axis of symmetry. Okay, and we are ready to connect everything. So negative 4, negative 7 is the vertex. And you're going to open upward to hit that x-intercept, that y-intercept, and make your U-shape. Same thing on the other side. And you have your graph. Alright, so you will do some like this on your worksheet as well. Some will have decimals, some will not. Don't forget, you can email me any questions and I will do my best to answer and come back in and record some homework questions as well. Alright, that is it for this problem.